I will request Professor Bhatt to start with. Professor Chandrasekhar Bhatt is going to speak on diversities in Indian diaspora and human rights concern. And Professor Bhatt has been an eminent name in this field, has graduated from the School of Economics and has postdoctoral fellowship at SOAS, London University. For 33 decades he has been teaching and has been instrumental in starting Center for Indian Diasporic Studies in Hyderabad. And at the moment he is Professor of Eminence in Diaspora Central University, Silchar, Assam. I would ask him to spend 8 to 10 minutes, please. We are running short of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me first of all thank the organizers for extending the invitation to Diaspora University, and my Vice Chancellor has been very graceful to depute me to participate in this conference. Chairperson, very distinguished, naming Diaspora Ambassador Sharmaji, and very learned speakers assembled here on the dais, and delegates to this conference, very learned persons of different pursuits, of different disciplines, practitioners of human rights and other disciplines, and those who have interest in promoting the rights of the Indians all over, both in India as well as overseas. I consider it a great privilege to stand before you and to share some of my views on both Indian diaspora, the policies and concerns dealing with the Indian diaspora. The 10 minutes is something very short with a massive issue like both Indian diaspora as well as human rights concerns. Thank the chairperson of the session who has given an encyclopedic view of Indian diaspora right from the colonial times to the present day. I would only add a small dimension to what he has mentioned. The diaspora term has become very current today, specifically after the 1990s. When I studied the Indians overseas, way back in the 1980s, we were talking about ethnic minority groups and their integration in those countries wherever they are located. And soon, in about a decade's time, we talk about diaspora because there's a complete change in terms of the paradigm of discourse from ethnic minorities to the diasporic discourse. That we talk about the people who are related to the motherland. The main thrust to the concept of diaspora is the connectivity back home. Till then we have been emphasizing how these communities are going to integrate with those countries. And I recall that the concept of melting pot in the US. The melting pot was conceived that all the ethnicities, all the diversities will be melted and you will have greater American culture to evolve. But it didn't happen. What happened is quite different, which was in the neighboring country, Canada, the multicultural society. So what we see today is the recognition of multicultural society. And the 1990s marks another significant trend. All of us know about 1990-91 when we opened up our borders to the globe, the new industrial policy. And with that, there's a greater change that has evolved. And it was not just in India, there was a trend of greater globalization. Mr. Sharma did mention about the globalization that has taken a very different strand after the 1990s. There was also, one of the reasons, main reasons for this kind of a globalization which has set in, which is quite different from the colonial times and even the 90s, is the shrinking of time and space. thanks to the chip revolution, invention of blue chip, and we find the technologies of travel and communication bringing the globe together, wherein you can see what is happening without losing any time, in real time, and you can travel across the globe, perhaps at much more economy rates, much faster speed today than perhaps earlier time. So this has given rise to the diasporic communication, linking much more intensely, and therefore, come the 21st century, it's a time for diasporic globalization. So much so some scholars have called it as diasporization instead of globalization. So Cohen, who has been a very great writer on diaspora, who has published in early 2000 book on global diasporas, called it diasporization is a better term to designate the process that is going on today, namely the kind of globalization, because it takes people across far beyond their borders, whether people like it or not. And when I say about border crossing, I recall the very important statement made by Jagdish Bhagwati, one of our distinguished Indians from Columbia University, who has been also an advisor to the presidents of United States on migration policies. He says, you cannot control migrants or migration into your country. Even if all countries want to ban or control the migration, it's not possible. They may desire, but it's not possible to control, because the trends in the globe is very different. You cannot really take a health service person through the BPO process of outsourcing. You have to have somebody, the nurses and doctors and so on. So today, if you see the trends in the globalization process, you find the movement across borders has become a significant part of today's society. 3% of the global population is on the move. 3% of the global population, according to the International Migration Organization. So it is the time for the diaspora. And in this context of the diaspora, what we need to see is that migrant is given his rights. The right of a migrant to his rights is something which has been often denied, because migrant is always an outsider. And therefore, in all contexts of migration, we see there's a violation of basic human rights. And unless we collectively mobilize to secure these rights, I think the migrant will be always denied the rights. You know, what kind of rights they are denied? The right from why people migrate for always either willingly or unwillingly. Sometimes you are forced to migrate. In whatever context, the migrants are the most exploited persons. You may see in Delhi on the roads, lots of migrant workers here. Now why they are here present? Because they provide you cheap labor. They are vulnerable, you can pay them any amount and get your work done. And this is the case across the borders. Now if Indians are in large numbers, huge migration is taking place even today to countries of developed world for their further development, for the greater capital formation. Now they go there because they get slightly better chances than what they are getting in their homeland. But then they get much less compared to those people who are in those countries. So you find exploitation of migrants anywhere they go. So the major task of any global community today is globally make it possible for the migrants to get their rights wherever they are, whether migrants from US or other countries, they come and settle in India, because now the global situation is such in the contemporary globalization process is that people have to concede certain rights and privileges. As mentioned in 1965, the Americans were compelled to take from outside, specifically from the developing countries like Asian countries like India and so on, and give them in course of time, not immediately, in course of say 10 years, 5 to 10 years, there's a gradual process to provide citizenship. And citizenship of the countries is a must. Now, most of the we have 3 kinds of diaspora, which already have been explained. The one who have gone during the colonial times, and then those Indians who have gone after India's independence. The second stream, and the third one, when the Gulf countries had the oil boom, you have a large number of Indians who are migrated there. And the later 1990s and 2000 and so on, we have a huge migration taking place. Even today, if you go to any airport, you'll find the presence of Indians moving out. It's not just Indians moving out, even there are others coming to India as migrants, but I think the records are not properly maintained. We need to have proper recording of these issues. Now, once these migrants go, they have their own specific conditions of life. In Gulf, the conditions of life are very different. As our friend who just now mentioned about the Kenyan context, there's no temple allowed in the Gulf countries. And religion is something which is a part of any human culture, and right to pursue one's religion is a human right, and therefore there is a need to fight for all these kind of rights to secure to the people who are gone there, and citizenship rights. If you're spending your whole life of working capabilities, like in the Gulf countries, you spend 30, 40 years, but then you are asked to go back. You have no right to citizenship. And I'm sure someday it will happen when we globally mobilize. It can't be done by, say, India mobilizing to secure rights of its citizens wherever they're gone, or those people who have changed their citizenship, but then still they are Indians for us. And the India will remain with them, as all of us know. Wherever Indians have gone, whether 200 years ago or today, the India is with them all the time, thinking about Indianness, their culture, their ways of life, and so on. They will be certainly very sensitive to these rights and privileges of their culture wherever they go. And how do we protect them? Can we protect them? India could not really actually involve itself when in Fiji, the rightfully gained political power by Mahendra Chaudhary was denied to him by a coup. It's not once, twice, thrice it has been happening, and Indians have been denied. Right from the day one, I think the British have used their, divide and rule policy. What's happened in Fiji is that Indians who have worked for 200 years have been denied any right to the land there. One of the major problems of Indians facing in Fiji is that they will never be able to get the rights on the property in which they have slogged and made the country far ahead of what it was before they were taken to Fiji. And similar situation exists in many other countries too. So, can we have any surgical way that America has done? Any American is denied certain rights. You have America going and carrying out surgical operations. See that the rights are provided to them, or the right of denials are provided to the American citizens. Perhaps, maybe in India, I look forward for a day when India can really reach that level. I'm sure it should be able to reach that level once India gets united itself. I look forward in not less than in a decade or a decade and a half, India will grow much larger than its own territory, which is nation-state India, because Indians are spread far in 120 countries, and wherever Indians are there, they take India's border along with them. So the present day India could be much beyond the Indian borders, thanks to the linkages, communications, and one can move across the borders much easier way. I'm sure the trend in globalization that we see should be possible to make India, greater India, much beyond its borders. And hopefully there will be a day when India can really raise and support the rights of all Indians wherever they are denied certain basic human rights. With these few words, let me conclude. Thanks very much for the organizers for providing me this opportunity. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.